Welcome to the Master Your Breath podcast. My name is Tom Richter, and in today's episode, I sit down with Marko Kovac. He's a meditation practitioner and teacher, a coach, a business advisor, a retired entrepreneur. He offers retreats and workshops specifically for men. I'm also happy to call him a friend, and every time I sit down with him, I feel uplifted afterwards. Because even without planning it, we always explore various topics about how to live with more awareness, using various practices from yoga, breathing, meditation, etc. And it just feels very natural to discuss these things with him, and I get a lot of aha moments out of that. And so I thought he's the best person to have on the podcast for my first interview that I'm sharing here. We start off right away with his answer to how he was introduced into meditation, which was very early in life, at 4 years old, by his parents, how he then abandoned that practice at some point and then rediscovered it later. We also get to the question how he got interested in breathwork and breathing. He did my Master Your Breath course and later the Master Your Breath Academy, and is now a certified Master Your Breath instructor, also using breathwork in his own teachings and his work, which of course makes me very happy. So without further ado, enjoy the conversation with Marko Kovac.
Actually, I was born in 1975 in Osijek in eastern Croatia, and my parents actually founded the Transcendental Meditation group or association. I'm not sure how was it called then, around the time when I was born. And the people were gathering in our house for meditation sessions, and I was 4 years old when I was initiated in TM. So that's when my meditation experiences started.
Wow, lucky you.
I mean, not having said this, not that I was meditating since then continuously to this point. There was a big period in my life when I didn't do it, but yeah, that's when this kind of exploration started.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, that just reminds me of how I am always hoping that all the things that I'm exposing my son to, now that he's young, will somehow stick with him or somehow leave an impression with him, right? Like, even if he never does yoga again in his life, but somehow is seeing his father do yoga every morning, on the weekends, and talking about these things probably will have some effect later on. And now you're the example of that.
Yeah, hopefully. Yeah. I mean, at that time my father was keenly interested in not only TM, but, different kinds of teachings. And at that time, it was not available as many teachings were not available as they are right now, so it was a mixture of everything. He was reading Indian stuff about, let's say from books coming from Hinduism or Buddhism, or he was reading Carlos Castaneda and, like all kinds of teachings, and the house was full of books, and I was reading those books basically ever since.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. But now as Google was a big library back then.
Yeah, big library at home.
Nice. Good. And then, since you're talking about that, when did you start that journey or restart that journey again? Because you said you stopped at some point. Of course, we leave our home, and we leave, I guess, everything that our parents introduce us to go on our own mission. And then at what point did you reintroduce that to your life?
Yeah, actually, maybe some dark ages in my life brought me back. I mean, I grew up as every other kid. I was partying a lot and, going out a lot. And eventually I was not formally married, but I was in a couple. And we had kids, and at one point I started working like crazy because I left my job and I started the company. And actually that was it was like a big ball of snow, getting bigger and bigger and bigger, and it was eating me up at some point. And I was successful, but eventually I went through a pretty dark burnout at one point, and simply trying to help myself, I was drawn back to the source, because, to be honest, I never really wanted to be an entrepreneur only to earn money. That was not the point, actually. Why I did start that whole road was because I couldn't stand working in a corporation. I didn't like that world, and I wanted to be free of that world. And also I wanted to be free to do the things that inspire me, but do not necessarily bring money.
Yeah.
So I wanted to earn money this way, to actually free myself to do the things that really interest me, which is more spiritual, maybe more related with, nature and spending time in mountains. And but I didn't plan, to go in through those dark ages. But when I'm looking back at that journey, I think that most of us actually experience some dark times at some moments, and maybe that's the biggest fuel for growth. That's what I think now. While it was happening, I couldn't see it because it was too difficult. But I think that fuels real growth. There is a nice sentence in one verse, actually, one of Leonard Cohen's songs, when he says, "There is a crack in everything. That's how the light gets in." And person needs to get cracked.
Yeah,
I guess most of us.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, even if we think we feel good in general, like maybe even looking at other people and saying, "Well, I have it quite good," seeing other people, I'm actually quite a happy person. I always consider myself a happy person, but still, the whole yoga journey, opening up all the layers and kind of feeling them and bringing up the dark stuff, as you say, like it doesn't necessarily need darkness outside, like a big catastrophe in our life, but the darkness still can come up, even if we just casually do some practices, may that be yoga or meditation or breathwork or any other thing.
Yeah, so. I mean, I do think that simply growing up as a human being more or less necessarily brings certain amount of trauma. And, that's what life is for, to heal that trauma, but not only for ourselves, but to help others and to see maybe some kind of pain or some kind of difficulties in other people's lives. And when one experiences same things or similar things for herself or himself, then this person is maybe able to help or to empathize, at least, in a proper way.
Yeah, true. Yeah, it's very hard to empathize if you have not had any of those experiences. Like I always say in yoga, on the physical level, if you have always been flexible, it's very hard to help someone who's just really stiff to begin with. Like you cannot empathize with that situation. Like just do it, that kind of like the people that are already flexible, strong, who can easily do a handstand, and now they want to teach that to a person who's not as gifted to begin with, they are just saying, well, just do it. But the person that had to build something up for themselves, maybe they had to open the shoulder or they had to heal a broken shoulder joint, now they will exactly know, well, if you just do that little bit different alignment, if you activate here, if you release there, they will know all these cues because they needed them. And of course, on a mental, emotional, psychological level, that applies as well.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. Absolutely. Nice. So you did that journey from, having this seed planted at the beginning of your life, let's say, from your parents, meditation, Eastern, Western philosophies, and practices, teachings. Then in normal childhood, teenager years, starting a family, starting a business, being successful, but somehow it brings out some dark period. And now, what happened then? Just to what you write about yourself, you completed now a 4-year body-oriented psychotherapy school, studied nature and forest therapy, embarked on solo wilderness retreats, in the Croatian mountains and participated in plant medicine retreats in the Amazonian forest. And today you have this daily breathwork and meditation practice, and do men's work, like men's retreats, work with men. I guess using all these teachings that you experienced for yourself, now using that for helping other people. So, so what brought you out of this darkness period? Was it meditation or?
I guess all of it.
All of it, yeah.
All of it, because I was ready to try anything, and I guess, some combination of trying to help myself, but also, the interest in certain kinds of help, brought me where I am. And, I guess in my case, it all started with this body-oriented psychotherapy. That's where the journey back started. And initially, it was about, as I said, myself. But then when my nervous system and when, the whole body-mind couple or unity was well enough, then simply the interest kept me, to really understand how we develop as human beings psychologically, because my early interest, or my father's interest, was more related to, let's say, pure spiritual stuff. And this was a component, at least, that was, I later saw that was missing. And when I embarked on this journey and experienced different kinds of processes, psychological processes or breakthroughs, or, different kinds of things, and seeing also other people, we did hundreds of hours of individual therapy, group therapy. We had theoretical lessons, and intellectually understood what was happening, and it was about, I can go on and on about, developmental trauma from, let's say, from the birth on, or even before birth, and actually how things evolve and how things are living in us, and so that was the beginning. But then at some point, also then the next thing, I was very drawn to nature, because I was sick of people. I was sick of meetings and this business world. I just wanted to be alone, and I didn't want to be in a crowded city. So I spent days and weeks, just wandering the mountains. And it was either in small groups, like 2 of us, 3 of us, or myself alone. And then I started doing solo retreats. It was at the beginning 2 or 3 days, and the longest one in my case was 7 days without seeing people, without seeing any technology or anything else. But I wasn't doing any practice there. I was just spending time there. And that drawn me to this nature therapy school. It was actually one summer school that I did in Slovenia. It was American teacher. And somehow naturally, this kind of, let's say, tranquility or openness of senses brought me back to pure sitting, to pure sitting without doing anything. And then a friend of mine who was also going in this school, and he had actually inspired me to go to this psychotherapy school. He was also a very avid meditator. And alongside with him, I started meditating again. And initially it was very dry experience. I was somehow introducing the discipline in my life, because I somehow felt there is something in it. And I somehow wanted to see myself as a meditator, as that kind of, persona, which, is stupid, but, it simply happens. And then, step by step, I discovered juice in it, some juice in it. And this juice was especially emphasized when I first visited the Amazonian forest, and when I did my first retreat there with plant medicine. And then I somehow got the move of the mind, how to say, got the, as if the plant has shown me what the mind can do. And then later on, the mind kept doing similar movements or similar, was able to get in certain kinds of states maybe, or to experience something even without any support or any intake.
Yeah. So it almost like you could allow those states to happen naturally after you have had experienced them with the help of plant medicine.
Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah. Again, I mean, it's not. And so what I think today and what I'm experiencing today, it's not even about some kind of special states or whatever. It's simply about seeing the most simple things in life. Most simple things like, brushing teeth, washing dishes, walking down the street, seeing the bird fly, seeing cars drive by, seeing people walking, but with fresh eyes, with eyes of a child.
Yeah.
That's maybe the most precious thing, and living life moment to moment without grasping for anything, without worrying what will be, without.
Yeah, and it's interesting because before you said that the wish to teach, the wish to share these practices, whether it's from body-oriented psychotherapy or breathing or meditation, came afterwards, after the body had kind of relaxed back to a more natural place, from this like going on hyperactivity mode, back to like, okay, now it just flows. And so it's almost like we don't even have to like worry about becoming teachers. That will naturally happen once we are back in that place and now there's this wish to share that because we see it's needed around us. But also this natural place that you're talking about right now comes just naturally when we let go of all the hyperactivity and all the stress. But for that, it needs this retrieval for a moment, whether in nature or as a disciplined approach with meditation or any other practice, I guess.
Yeah, I agree completely. My meditation teacher, Marko, he says relaxation is the beginning and the end of meditation. Relaxation. And this sentence is a very deep sentence for me, because, he's Buddhist, and in Buddhism, the end is enlightenment, which we always think is like some, grandiose experience. And we usually start, when he starts teaching meditation, it really starts with, relaxing your forehead, your eyes, the temples, back of your head. Simple things. That's how it starts. And, A-type person like I am, trying to achieve something big, might think, or this is just for beginners, this is just, some... I'll get this, but then I'll get the real stuff later.
Yeah.
And actually, the magic that eventually happens after time is that maybe this A-type person, this achiever, that thing goes.
yeah, exactly.
That thing goes. And that's relaxation.
Yeah.
Letting go of the burden of persona that I was carrying the whole life.
Yeah, exactly. Like you said, you had this idea that you want to meditate. Like even that was a wish to be something, like an A-type approach of like I want to meditate, even if it's dry. But I just want it.
Exactly. It's again, the ego is a very clever beast.
Yeah.
And then it attaches itself to anything, and now I was an entrepreneur, I was this, then I was doing this, and then now I'm very successful meditator. It's the same shit, it's the same thing. So but it takes time actually to really see that, and not only intellectually to see that, but to experience that by doing that.
Mm-hmm.
I'm putting a burden on myself that I really do not have to carry.
Yeah, that's actually a great point. Like this question, do I have to actually carry that burden today, in this very moment?
Yeah, and that's why I do think that, going back to this sentence, relaxation.
Mm-hmm.
What relaxation really means. Taking off the burden off of our backs.
Mm-hmm.
All the burdens that we carry.
Yeah. Nice one. Now I have to ask, because you came after all these experiences, all these educations, all these already disciplined practice approaches that you were implementing in your life, and then you said, okay, I don't actually remember. I think you came to Mysore one time, like to my Ashtanga Mysore class. So we had seen each other, but then I think 1 or 2 years later, you somehow got into contact again, and you wanted to learn some breathing. And I think first we just had a couple of private classes together, and then you practiced that actually for a while, and then you signed up for the Master Your Breath course, and then later for the academy. But what made you go from like having all the practices and also, I guess, the experiences and the realizations that come along with that to go, well, breathing is something that is interesting?
Yeah, actually I had two triggers.
Okay.
2 triggers. So the first trigger was, I was always into sports, and I always find great pleasure, in sports. And I was playing volleyball, and then for a long time I was running long distance runner,
Mm-hmm.
Marathons and ultras and stuff. And then since I aged, and my knees hurt and my back hurt, and I stopped running, and then I switched to swimming. And when I started swimming, in the group that I was swimming with, I realized that my lungs have the smallest capacity, and I couldn't do the exercises. I mean, when I was a kid, I was struggling with asthma when I was living in Osijek.
Mm-hmm.
But that changed when I moved in Zagreb. But I guess something remained, of that, let's say maybe damage to lungs, and in a long period of my life, I was smoking weed.
Mm-hmm.
And I guess that also damaged a little bit. I mean, damaged. And I wanted to actually heal my lungs. And also, I wanted to improve my swimming. So that was the first trigger. The second trigger was I had Corona for the first time.
Mm-hmm.
And when I was meditating after that, when I wanted to fully relax my body, I realized that I cannot relax it fully because I need some effort to keep breathing. And I wanted to actually let that effort go, to get to a place where breathing happens by itself. And actually, these 2 things made me, to apply to your workshop.
Okay. And did it help?
It did big time.
Okay, good. No, I mean, it might seem like a rhetorical question, but those two things really improved. Like the effortlessness, breathing came back, and in your meditation to relax, and in swimming also the lung capacity improved.
Yeah, absolutely, and beyond my expectations, definitely, but also at this first workshop and during the first workshop, what I didn't expect was different experiencing of my body and myself with breath work. With breath work, and not only actually to be even more precise, not exactly with breath work, but with attention to breathing in regular moments of life.
Yeah,
this was the biggest, wow, this realization when I started becoming more aware of my breathing while driving or while talking with someone or while whatever.
Yeah, good. That's actually nice to hear as a feedback, because for a long time I only taught breathwork. As I was excited about it. For me, it was brilliant. For me, the discipline of doing the breathwork daily, the pranayama practice, came naturally because I was already doing the asana practice, the ashtanga practice. And then when I expanded my breathing courses to also include the breathing in daily life and how do you breathe based on the 6 principles, that made a huge difference for me, because now all of a sudden I didn't have to convince people anymore to say, now you have to sit down and do 15 minutes of breathwork every day. Now it can just be about what you do the other 23 hours and 45 minutes of the day in terms of breathing, and actually getting almost more impactful effects from that than from the breathwork itself. So it's really nice to hear that it really works in that sense, that just paying attention to how you breathe and knowing how to shift it. Like, okay, I'm breathing shallow, so I know how to go deeper. I breathe through my mouth, so I know how to go through to breathing through the nose. I acknowledge the arrhythmia of my breathing, and therefore I know how to shift it now to a better rhythm. And so now all of a sudden, throughout the day, I can immediately shift whatever is off, and that has this effect. Where did you notice that, like in daily life?
Yeah, I mean, for me, maybe let's use this example. It was one thing, and then I'll use this example. I was driving, and the traffic in the city is thick, and I realized that I'm getting anxious a little bit, or just anxious, and I started simply extending my exhale a little bit, just comfortably. While it's comfortable, extend the exhale. Nothing else. And after a minute or two, or I'm not sure what, but after a short amount of time, I realized that my mood changes. And the way I experience myself in this situation changes. And that was big revelation. Because I can do it. I realized, wow, this is not an exercise. I can do this anytime. And I don't need something outside of myself to come to more relaxed state. I can simply become aware, okay, this is me here, I'm breathing, and extend the exhale a little bit. And then in a short amount of time, I get more calmer version of me.
Yeah, nice. And what hits me about this, and this is not just you, but myself included and everybody else as well, is that we often have these assumptions, like, well, for example, you had years of meditation practice. So you were already very aware of everything. You could even say, well, any meditator, I guess, notices their breath. That's how meditation usually is introduced, right? That you just focus on your breath. Or somebody does Ashtanga yoga, which is a breath-related movement practice, or breath-based movement practice. that person has to know how to breathe. But actually, there's always that element that we are not aware of, or that we kind of take for granted, but we don't really work on it unless it's really a problem. Like somebody that really has a shortness of breath will probably immediately when they start Ashtanga or start meditating, notice that and maybe work on that. But for most of us, the breath is just something that is there. And so we don't notice how much power we have with the breath to shift our state and so on. And that's how it seems it was also for you, that the breath all of a sudden, because it was now the focus point, became such a more powerful tool, which you maybe hadn't used before as much.
Yeah, I mean, for me it all starts, and maybe again to use this metaphor, and ends with attention. Mm-hmm. With attention, because also, that there was a big inclination in me, to change myself, to improve myself. I always wanted to be better, or when I was hurt, I wanted to be healed, and when I was healed, I wanted to be even better, mm-hmm. So there's always this kind of desire to change myself. And even when I started a breathwork course, I wanted to change something. I guess that's how we are pulled towards something. We want to change something. But then I discovered that if I anxiously or desperately want to change something because it's painful or because I want to achieve something, then it creates a additional layer of tension. And simply becoming aware of breath in any circumstance, even if it's shallow, mm-hmm. without changing it, even if it's bad, simply being aware of it magically changes it. Mm-hmm. That's maybe counterintuitive, but that changes it.
Yeah.
And when I mentioned this example, when I was extending my exhale, yes, I was changing something, but that's for a short while, and then very soon, I came to a state when I don't need to change anything. Everything flows by itself naturally.
Yeah, nice way of explaining it. Nice. And so then fast forward a little longer, you kept the breathwork practice up. Did it somehow interact with your meditation practice? Or did you practice together, or how do you do that? Do you separate them, your meditation and your breathing practice?
Yeah, actually, my morning practice actually this is how it's consisted. Uh-huh. I wake up, take a cold shower, and then I do 8 movements of Chan. Mm-hmm. This is Chan meditation that I'm practicing. This is maybe, let's say, this is less known, but in Japan it's called Zen. In China it's Chan. Mm-hmm. Which is actually are not demanding ways of waking up the body, and then I do kriyas, and then I do pranayama, mm-hmm. and which is not really, let's say, kosher by Chan approach. Okay. In that school they never alter the breath. Okay. Even Buddha, there is a sutra about awareness of breathing, and one is actually in that sutra, he speaks about awareness of breathing in a way that we don't change the breath. Whatever the breath is, we are just simply becoming aware, But, me being rebellious and exploring things in my own way, mm-hmm. I discovered that if I do pranayama before the meditation, then I simply, I'm more present and more awake, mm-hmm. and more calm in the same time when I'm meditating.
Yeah.
So, and then I sit after pranayama.
Okay.
Yeah. So that's my regular course. I mean, that's if I have enough time, to do all of this, if my time in the morning is shorter. I mean, this, what I said, this whole thing, it lasts, and I can afford that amount of time today. I couldn't afford that before. But if I have to go somewhere, or if I have to do something, and if I was sleeping a little bit longer, then I don't have enough time, then I skip parts of it.
Yeah.
And the first thing actually that I skip, if the time is shorter, I skip either kriyas, either I make pranayama shorter, either I skip the whole pranayama. I just wake up the body and then I sit shorter or longer.
Yeah. Yeah, makes sense. I mean, we always have to choose. I guess, I mean, what I usually do is, like, for example, also if I do a new course now and I learn some new technique, then this technique is my priority at that moment. And so I might cut off a little bit of my movement practice, I might cut off a little bit of my pranayama practice, but usually I still do it, right? So, and then when I have more time, all goes back to being equal. But even my movement practice, I used to practice 2.5 hours sometimes, every day, Ashtanga yoga. And now, on most days, I do like half an hour, 45 minutes. And then maybe twice a week, I do my full practice, which is still not 2 hours anymore. So, because the other practices have taken over in importance. And so, there's always this adjusting to the daily needs, of course, but also what is your main practice right now? Are you learning something? Are you just maintaining what you do? And then also over the lifetime. Like I sometimes say, in my 20s, it was asana practice. In my 30s, it was pranayama practice. Now I'm slowly adding in more meditation practice so that there's an evolution throughout the life, but still maintaining healthy body, healthy nervous system, healthy mind, like all the levels, the subtle levels and the more gross levels. They are all fed by various practices in the right combination.
Yeah. I agree. And also, what's interesting, what was big step for me was to see the whole day as a practice in some way.
Yeah.
And not only in some way, but really to practice it, not real practice. I guess that's the master level, is that one is in the, for example, washing dishes, or vacuum cleaning, whatever, cooking. That I do the same thing with my mind, or I give up doing, to be more exact. And I'm simply present with, the plate, the sponge, the water. I'm touching it, I'm doing it, and I'm fully present, and that's meditation in its essence.
Yeah.
That's meditation in its essence. And also, I'm breathing all the time. And I'm aware of my breath. And it's not kind of, forceful, attention. Maybe sometimes I need to get back, let's say that washing the dishes and being aware of the breathing at that time is a method, kind of exercise. Yeah. And my mind starts wandering and, doing all crazy things. And I mean, I never really, maybe in retreats, yes, but in regular life, it's very rare that mind stops. That it's without thoughts, at least for me.
Yeah.
But they simply go into background. They simply go into background. And they become like, let's say we hear cars on the street, and that's background noise. And then simply the mind is background noise.
Yeah.
While I'm washing the dishes. And in that when I'm able to do that, then any kind of activity in life, in a way, becomes sacred. Be it, keeping up the house or making love. It's simply sacred.
Yeah.
And it is a practice. And, And actually, all of these practices that maybe we do in the morning or when we do them, I think are simply preparation for regular living.
Yeah,
in a more present way.
Yeah, just to add an example from this week, my son was at home because he was coughing, and my wife, she was preparing a workshop, so she needed silence. He wanted action at home because he was not really so sick that he had to lie in bed, luckily. So he was like, yeah, let's do something. Look at this, look at that, and then I was trying to be in the middle and supporting the whole process, so he has fun and she has quietness. And there's of course tense situations coming up, or emotional expressions of this. I don't like this right now, or I do like this, right? And what you were just saying with being present with the dishes is that, being present with your meditation practice or your pranayama practice is the practice, and then the next practice is, can I do that when I wash the dishes? And then the third level, let's say, is now can I stay present and relaxed and holding the space and being open without being emotionally affected when other people are not happy in a certain moment, and maybe even tell you in a way that sounds like it was me, that is at fault. But can I hear that without taking it personal? Can I hear that and just stay lovingly supportive? And that's hard. But with the other two elements or the other two levels, having been practiced on that day, it is easier.
Yeah, this third level, that's master level. That's level pro.
we are all still working on it.
Yeah, and for example, on my last retreat, I was basically, I decided to leave the retreat at some moment, and I never really expected that because this is not my first, rodeo. And this is the first time that I was leaving because I was triggered. I was triggered so hard, by someone, but not really, it wasn't a big thing, but I was really so triggered that it completely threw me off the track. And I decided to leave. And then, later I met my meditation teacher, and he said, that people, let's say some monks or, like hermits, they can live, somewhere alone for themselves. And they might think of themselves that they are enlightened. And then they come, back to society, to their family. And then, shit hits the fan.
Yeah, exactly. That's how it is.
And that's why, this ultimate level is when, there is really bad stuff going on, to be able to stay on top of this. And I don't expect of myself in this life or to get maybe on that level completely, but there are people, that are really, like lighthouses, for all of us, Recently I heard also, the lady who is the founder of this retreat center that I'm going to, she was telling me a story about a monk who was imprisoned in China, and he was kept, I'm not sure, maybe for 20 years. And he was in solitary room, and he was beat up regularly, and and he said, that it's not their fault. It's not their fault. He didn't fall into hatred. That's one thing, and he didn't think of himself as a victim even. Imagine that. And that kept him free.
Yeah.
And to me, that's an ultimate example of enlightened person.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, makes sense. Yeah, sometimes it's not obviously talking now about your example, but I catch myself sometimes having an easy time not taking things personal by other people that I meet on the street, that maybe cut me off in the traffic, with their car, or that maybe, they yell at me, because they think I didn't drive the right way, right? But it's easy to say, well, they're just having a bad day, whatever. But then in your own family, if somebody that you love and that loves you is actually saying something that triggers you, then it's sometimes much harder to say, I can hold the space for them, because, well, aren't they supposed to love us, right? That kind of, how can you say that, Somebody else said that, okay, but you know me, but they are not saying it to you. They are just saying it because they're in pain right now in that moment. And so, anyway,
yeah,
it's hard in both ways, but
yeah, it is, and it's not that I was, for example, when I was before this psychotherapy school, this is where I got much help in that regard. I was always thinking, if an example, should be a person who is never angry. An example should be a person who is kind of, walks this earth like kind of saint. And being a saint means, never angry, always, welcoming everything. And, but it's not that. Yeah. It's not that. If we try to do that, then, if people, let's say, I'll be indirect if I can, if people throw shit at us, that we have to swallow that shit. Mm-hmm. It's not about that. At all. At all. If someone, throws an arrow on you, you need to receive that arrow. Not at all. Because then I'm not taking care of myself. I'm not taking care of myself. And having healthy boundaries also, and is extremely important. And to keep my ground, to keep my space, and to be firm in this, not stiff, but firm, mm-hmm. to hold that space. And then, when I show first compassion towards myself, then I can show compassion to the other person. If I'm not able to understand what's going on in me, if I'm not able to show compassion towards myself, then I won't be able to direct the same energy or the same attitude towards the other person.
Yeah, very true. Now, just to wrap this up with the... I really wanted to talk also about these men's retreats that you offer. And I know that you have been starting to also bring in some breathwork or breathing awareness into these retreats that you're teaching. Maybe can you share something about that? Has that made a difference, or when are you using that? Was it planned? Was it spontaneous? Did you introduce that?
Yeah, actually, so this men's workshop is actually conceived and put together by this same friend. His name is also Marko, who made me re-interested in meditation and psychotherapy as well. So he put together this whole program, and I'm assisting. Mm-hmm. And this program is, he took actually, let's say, some Jungian view of psyche, and he broke down man's psyche in 4 archetypes. Mm-hmm. So we work separately on magician archetype. That's, let's say, part of one can see it as 4 angles through which we can see a person, one mm-hmm. man. So we first work on magician, then we work on a lover, then we work on a warrior, and then we work on the king. And then the 5th part is integration of all 4. And it's a kind of psychosomatic set of psychosomatic exercises and experiences, but it also touches a little bit of, let's say, spiritual dimension of life, and every module is sealed with a ritual work. So basically it's a combination of all the experiences, of all the knowledge that Marko gathered in his life. And what I'm doing here, I'm trying to help in ways I can. And one of the things, let's say, tools that I'm bringing in is breathwork. So for example, when we are doing warrior, then it's very physical, it's very demanding, it's very fierce, it's very true men's work. In warrior. I mean, all four are true men, but this is like, let's say typically stereotypically, And one of the things that we do is I use, so that's something that I didn't learn from you, but also one thing that I did learn from you. We are working on abdomen, so I'm relaxing abdomen, and also we are doing Kapalabhati, just to pump the energy, and then I'm using Tumo, just to light up this inner fire. And that's a beginning. That's introduction in some other even more physical part of the workshop. So that's for example when we use breath work. And also for example when we are doing lover, lover is about enjoyment and letting go of structures and relaxing and that kind of thing. So then I'm leading a relaxation breath work. So these are two typical examples.
Nice. Okay, well, this was fun. I think we have talked already a long time, and I would love to have you back at some point if you want to come back, because this conversation really is really enjoyable for me, but also I'm getting a lot out of this. So I'm glad we actually recorded it. So let's do that again. Is there anything else you want to share? Any place where people can find you? Anything that you want to, that we haven't talked about that you wanted to say?
People can find us at maybe the best way would be on our website.
Okay, I will put the link.
Yeah, on our website, and there are a couple of, at least at the moment, there are 2 programs announced. We are starting with the 3rd, beginning of April. And this whole thing is just in its conception. Marko and me, we want to basically share, the benefits that we got from different kinds of practices with other people. That's our intention. And we are simply playing with the things that we are interested in. And one of these things is we are inviting one, let's say, teacher. He is a teacher, 15th of June in Český dom in Zagreb. And he will be actually guiding, this will be a one-day workshop, a set of experiments. It's a kind of Western approach to enlightenment that doesn't use meditation as a method. It's a kind of direct seeing set of experiments.
Okay.
And maybe Marko's big interest, and he's very strong in this psychotherapeutic part of work, which I'm not. I'm not a therapist. He is. And I'm more interested in this work with, seeing the reality. And this workshop that Richard will be doing in June in Český dom is only the first thing that we are going to offer in that realm. So whoever is interested, nice. Please come.
Yeah, well, I will put the link for that as well. And it's really nice to see what you guys are doing, and also this kind of teamwork where everybody brings in their own thing, and then kind of the whole is more than the pieces put together. I always love that, and I will look forward to seeing you again and also having you again in the podcast. Thank you again for coming, and see you next time.
Thank you, Tom. I really enjoyed it.